Well, hi everyone. It's Saturday and it's kind of like a cloudy, overcast, drizzly, rainy day here in St. George, Utah. Feels really good. So I thought it would be great to take out Ruby and let her roam the desert for a little bit while I film this video. My name's Chelsea, and for those of you that are just tuning in for the first time, I just completed a oil-free challenge and it went for 2 weeks where I had 0 oil. I still had I still had healthy fats like nut butters and seeds and coconut and avocado, but I didn't have any isolated oil. I gotta say that out of all of the challenges I've ever done, because I've done some interesting things with food in the past, this one was actually one of the more easier ones that I've done. Because I've done everything. Well, except for I've never done Banana Island, where you just eat one fruit for a few days. I've never done that, and that is on my list of things to do. But I have done, a low-carb, high-protein diet in the past before I was vegan, and that was really hard. It took a lot of discipline, and I was really fighting every day to not have sugar and carbs, which is sad, because now that's what I have all the time. And I've also done like a veggie cleanse where I had just straight veggies for 8 days, and that was the hardest thing I've ever done. That was crazy hard. And that was just to clean up my digestive system and just do a big flush. So I've never done one since because it was so hard. But some things that I really loved about this oil-free challenge was it really just made me take a closer look at what I was eating. Just a lot of things that I was eating that I didn't realize had oil in them. Doesn't mean that I'll never have oil again. Doesn't mean that I'm like anti-oil per se, but I just don't think it's the healthiest thing to be pouring in large quantities into your body. Because it's, isolated fat, it does make things like taste good and have texture. So it is in a lot of things, if you don't pay attention, a lot of things that you buy processed. So really what this challenge helped me do was to just step away from processed foods, even if they're vegan, step away from vegan processed foods and just really take the time to make my own food and make sure I know what's going. So I did bake a few things during this challenge, and baking wasn't as hard as I thought to replace fat with. A lot of times you could replace it with applesauce or pumpkin or just different fruits and veggies you could replace it with, and it was still really moist and delicious. Cooking, I think as long as you have a good pan, you're set for cooking. I think that a lot of times in the past I had a crappy pan, so I was spraying on lots of oil just so that things wouldn't stick. So before I started the challenge, I did go to Costco and buy a new pan just so that I could make my pancakes and everything without it sticking. I definitely developed some good habits from this challenge. There's a few things that I feel like I'll just keep doing, like using the veggie broth to cook things in my pan. Like if I'm trying to soften up veggies like onions and garlic or carrots or whatever it is that I'm cooking, instead of using any oil, just use low sodium veggie broth, and it makes it actually really flavorful. It adds a little bit of flavor from the broth. And I do think before this I was making up excuses like, well, I'm using coconut oil and that's one of the healthier oils, so I can use it. And then I found myself using it more than I needed to and using it a lot. So I'll still use coconut oil, like I said, but it's just I've learned that there's a lot of times when I really don't need it. Like popcorn though, I love popcorn, and I didn't have it the whole entire 2 weeks because, let's be honest, plain popcorn is kind of and I didn't know what else to put on it. Like, nothing will stick to it without the oil, I do think that it did make my tummy feel a little bit better. When I have a lot of oil or fat at once, it kind of gives me a gut ache, and I know part of that is because I don't have a gallbladder. Also, I'm not positive because I know that weight fluctuates and stuff with water, but I had been getting on the scale the past few days, and I was a couple pounds lighter. I don't know if it's from the challenge or if it's just coincidence, or like I say, if it's just me fluctuating. Honestly, like, my goal is just to feel good and that's not necessarily to lose weight. There is more leeway for more calories. Not that I count calories, but does that make sense? When you add oil in, then you are adding more energy that you might not burn, where that like extra 200 calories that you poured in could have been like another cup, like 2 cups of rice or something. Does that make sense? So I would rather have more food. It's kind of like with beverages, how some people like to have their beverages, like juices and soda, and it's just kind of adding unnecessary sugar and calories that you wouldn't need. And where I always have water. I always have water, water, water. So kind of the same thing with the oil. I feel like it's just extra that you don't really need. As long as you're eating your healthy fats, as long as you're having your nuts and your seeds and your avocado and coconut, the healthy fats that give you omega-3 and omega-6, you should be fine. You don't need to have straight up oil. I will keep being mostly oil-free. I don't want to ever say I'm not going to have oil again and things like that, but I think that I have picked up some good habits. This has been good for me, and I will keep going with a lot of oil-free meals because I really do like them. I feel like oil should be a treat for me, like a once in a while treat. Like if I have my popcorn, or if I go out to eat, then I'll probably have something that was cooked in oil, and I'm not going to ask for them to leave the oil off. But I don't want to keep cooking with oil at home when I don't really need to, or baking with it. Alright, well you guys are awesome. Thanks for watching. Love you guys. See you next time. Bye. P.S. Tiandra, I'm really jealous that you are at the Vegan Fest right now in Salt Lake. Thanks, Tiandra, for doing this oil-free challenge with me. It's always nice to know when someone else is doing the same thing as you are, just so you don't feel alone. So thank you. And be sure to video you guys, because she'll probably do one too, I'm assuming, to tell you how her little oil-free challenge went. Well, hopefully some of my rambling made sense. Hopefully you've gained a little bit of insight about this topic, and I would love to have you guys comment below and give me any tips or any insight you have on oil. I would love to hear about it.